I was having coffee with a colleague when my phone started buzzing. Text after text from friends, former students, even my dentist, all sending me the same thing. A screenshot of an Instagram post. My niece Olivia, 22 years old, had posted a photo of herself in head-to-toe designer wear with the caption, "Brunch with my poor aunt who shops at Target. Love her, but girl needs to upgrade. Hashtag designer life, hashtag sorry not sorry, hashtag family embarrassment." The photo showed me in the background wearing jeans and a simple sweater. Normal clothes. Comfortable clothes. The kind of clothes a high school English teacher wears on the weekend. My name is Margaret, I'm 45, and I've taught English for 20 years. I live modestly, save aggressively, and yes, I shop at Target. Not because I can't afford better, but because I value financial security over labels. What Olivia didn't know, what she had absolutely no idea about, was that sitting on my desk at home was her quarterly trust fund statement. The trust fund her parents had set up when she was born. The trust fund I'd been managing as trustee since my brother died 3 years ago. $500,000. Growing at about 6% annually through conservative investments I'd carefully selected. Money that was supposed to fund her education, help her start her career, maybe buy her first home. Instead, she'd blown through her monthly allowance of $2,000 in the first week of every month for the past year. Designer bags, expensive brunches, luxury vacations, all funded by the trust one managed. I read through the comments on her post. Her friends laughing at my sad outfit. People I'd never met calling me broke and tragic. One comment said, "Imagine being that old and still shopping at discount stores." My colleague Sarah looked over my shoulder. "Margaret, I'm so sorry. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to finish my coffee. Then I'm going to go home and review some financial documents. That's it, for now." What Sarah didn't know was that Olivia's trust fund had very specific terms. As trustee, I had complete discretion over distributions. The monthly allowance I'd been giving her wasn't mandatory. It was a courtesy. One I'd extended because I wanted to help her transition to adulthood. But the trust also had clauses about character and responsibility. Clauses my brother had insisted on. Clauses that gave me the authority to reduce or suspend distributions if the beneficiary demonstrated gross irresponsibility or lack of character. I went home and pulled out the trust documents, read through them carefully, made some notes. Then I drafted an email to Olivia. "Hi Olivia. I saw your Instagram post. Very creative caption. I wanted to let you know that as trustee of your trust fund, I'm required to send you quarterly statements. Your Q2 statement arrived at my house today since I'm listed as your guardian for financial matters. I thought you might want to review it, especially the section about distribution guidelines and trustee discretion. Let me know if you'd like to discuss. Best, Aunt Margaret, the poor one from Target." I hit send and waited. The response came in less than 5 minutes. "OMG Aunt Margaret, I was totally joking. It was just for laughs. Don't be so sensitive." I didn't respond. Instead, I scheduled a meeting with my financial advisor for the next morning. It was time Olivia learned an expensive lesson about respect. The next morning, I received a panicked call from my sister-in-law, Olivia's mother. "Margaret, what's this about the trust fund?" Olivia is hysterical. "She says you're going to cut her off." "I haven't decided anything yet, Susan. I'm simply reviewing the trust documents as I'm required to do quarterly." "But she said you sent her a weird email about distribution guidelines." "I sent her a professional email about her trust fund statement. As trustee, I'm obligated to keep her informed. She's just a kid. That Instagram post was just a joke. She's 22. And jokes are supposed to be funny. Publicly mocking your aunt for not wearing designer clothes while that aunt manages $500,000 of your money shows remarkably poor judgment." Susan's voice changed. "Wait, you're seriously considering cutting her allowance over a social media post?" "I'm considering whether continuing to distribute funds to someone who demonstrates such poor character aligns with the trust's stated purpose. Your husband, my brother, was very specific about wanting the money to go to someone responsible. This is ridiculous. You're being petty." "Susan, let me read you something from the trust document. The trustee shall have complete discretion to reduce, suspend, or terminate distributions to the beneficiary if said beneficiary demonstrates behavior inconsistent with the values of financial responsibility, humility, and respect for others that this trust is meant to encourage." Silence on the other end. "James wrote that specifically." I continued. He wanted to make sure the money helped Olivia become a good person, not just a rich one. So what are you going to do? I'm going to do what I should have done months ago. I'm going to actually enforce the terms of the trust instead of just handing out money every month. After I hung up, I sat down with Olivia's spending records from the past year. $24,000 in allowances. I pulled up her credit card statements. Yes, as trustee, I had access to those too since the trust paid her credit card bills. $43,000 in additional spending beyond her allowance. Designer handbags, $12,000. Luxury vacations, $15,000. High-end restaurants and clubs, $8,000. The rest scattered across boutiques, spas, and premium services. She'd burned through $67,000 in 1 year. Money her father had worked his entire life to save. Money meant to give her a foundation for her future. And she'd used that money to mock me online for shopping at Target. My phone rang again. This time it was Olivia. Aunt Margaret, please, I'm so sorry. I deleted the post. I'll apologize publicly if you want. Just please don't take away my allowance. Why did you delete the post, Olivia? Because I realize now it was mean and... You deleted it because you're afraid of losing your money. Not because you understand why it was wrong. No, I really am sorry. I was just showing off for my friends. I didn't mean it. Here's what's going to happen. I'm suspending your allowance effective immediately. What? You can't do that. I absolutely can. It's in the trust documents. But here's what I'm willing to offer. You can earn it back. Earn it back? How? Get a job. A real job with a salary. Work for 6 months. Show me you understand the value of money that you actually earn instead of money that just appears in your account every month. A job. Olivia's voice went shrill. I have a job. I'm an influencer. You have 3,000 Instagram followers and make maybe $200 a month from sponsorships. That's not a job. That's a hobby that barely pays for your coffee habit. That's not fair. Do you know how hard I work on my content? I'm sure you do work hard on it, but it doesn't pay your bills. The trust fund pays your bills. And that's ending. What about my rent? My car payment? My credit cards? What about them? I can't afford those without the allowance. Then I suggest you figure something out. Get a roommate. Sell the car and buy something cheaper. Stop buying things on credit that you can't afford. This is insane. My dad would never have wanted this. That hit a nerve. I took a deep breath before responding. Olivia, your father worked 16-hour days to build the business that funded this trust. He drove a 10-year-old truck. He brought his lunch to work in a paper bag. He did all of that so you'd have opportunities he never had. And what did you do with those opportunities? You spent his hard-earned money on designer bags and then mocked me, his sister, for living the way he lived. I heard her crying on the other end. I didn't think about it that way. That's the problem. You didn't think about it at all. You've never had to think about money because it's always just been there. Well, now you're going to learn what it's like when it's not. So that's it. You're just cutting me off completely. Not completely. The trust will still pay for legitimate educational expenses if you decide to finish your degree. It will still be here for true emergencies. But the monthly allowance, the credit card payments, the funding of your lifestyle, that's done until you demonstrate you can support yourself. How am I supposed to pay my rent this month? The same way millions of people do, with money you earn from working. I don't have a job. Then you'd better start looking for one. After we hung up, I sat in my home office looking at the trust documents. My brother's handwriting was in the margins where he'd made notes. Want Liv to be independent, not dependent. Money should be a foundation, not a crutch. Teach her the value of work. He'd known. Even when Olivia was a baby, James had known that too much money without responsibility could ruin a person. Over the next week, Olivia tried everything. She had Susan call me daily. She had her friends send me messages about how mean I was being. She even tried to get other family members involved. My mother called. Margaret, don't you think you're being harsh? The girl made a mistake. The mistake wasn't the post, Mom. The mistake was the attitude behind it. She genuinely believes she's better than me because she has designer labels that she bought with money she didn't earn. But cutting her off completely. I'm not cutting her off. I'm requiring her to contribute to her own support. There's a difference. What if she can't find a job? Then she'll learn to live on less. Just like I did. Just like James did. Just like you and Dad did. 2 weeks after I suspended the allowance, I got an email from Olivia. No greeting. Just, I got a job. Retail at Nordstrom. 30 hours a week. Happy now. I smiled as I typed my response. 3 months into Olivia's retail job, I received a text I never expected. Can we meet for coffee? I want to talk about the trust. And apologize. Actually apologize this time. We met at a small cafe. Not one of the expensive brunch places she used to frequent. She arrived in jeans and a simple top, her designer bag nowhere in sight. Before you say anything, she started, I need to tell you something. Working at Nordstrom has been the hardest 3 months of my life. Hard how? Hard in every way. My feet hurt. My back hurts. Customers are rude. My manager is demanding. And the pay is terrible. I'm making $13 an hour. And I finally get it. That Instagram post? I calculated it out. The outfit I was wearing in that photo cost more than I now make in 3 weeks of work. 3 weeks of standing on my feet, dealing with difficult people, missing time with friends because I have to work weekends. She pulled out her phone and showed me a Notes app entry. This is what I've been tracking. Every time I want to buy something, I calculate how many hours I'd have to work to afford it. That designer bag I wanted last week. 87 hours. That's more than 2 full work weeks. Why are you tracking this? Because I needed to understand what I was spending. Not in dollars, but in work. In time. In the things I'd have to give up to afford it. And I realized that most of the stuff I bought, I wouldn't work that many hours for. It wasn't worth it. I felt something shift in my chest. This wasn't the entitled girl from 3 months ago. I also wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because you control my trust fund, but because I was cruel. You're not poor. You're smart. You've built a life on what you earn, not on what someone gave you. And I mocked you for it because I was too shallow to see the difference. Thank you, Olivia. I deleted my Instagram account. You did? Yeah. All I was doing was performing for people who didn't actually care about me. They cared about the image I projected, the lifestyle I couldn't really afford. When the money stopped and the posts stopped, most of those friends disappeared too. She showed me her bank statement. This is what I've managed to save in 3 months. $1,100. It's not much, but it's mine. I earned every penny. That's actually impressive given your salary and expenses. I got a roommate, sold my car and bought a used Honda, stopped eating out, started cooking. I'm not going to lie, it sucks sometimes. But I also feel proud in a way I never did before. Your father would be proud too. She wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something? When you were my age, were you ever tempted to live beyond your means? To try to look successful even if you weren't? Every single day. Especially teaching in an affluent district where parents drive Teslas and kids wear Gucci. It would be easy to try to keep up. But I decided early on that I'd rather be financially secure than look rich. How did you decide that? Because I watched what happens to people who live on credit and appearances. They're stressed, anxious, and trapped. 6 months after I suspended Olivia's allowance, she asked to meet again. This time at my house. She arrived with a folder of documents. I want to show you something. Inside was a budget she'd created. Income, expenses, savings goals. It was detailed, realistic, and responsible. I've been working full-time for 6 months now. I got promoted to assistant manager. I'm making $17 an hour. I've saved $4,200. And I have a plan. What kind of plan? I want to go back to school. Finish my degree. But I want to pay for it myself. Well, partly myself. I know the trust covers education. But I want to contribute too. I want to feel like I earned it. I reviewed her budget. This is good work, Olivia. I also wanted to talk about the trust. I know I still have access to it eventually. And I wanted to say, I don't want you to just give it to me when I turn 25 like the original documents say. You don't. No. I want you to keep control. Maybe adjust it so I can access it for specific things, like a down payment on a house, or starting a business, or true emergencies. But I don't trust myself with that much money yet. And honestly, I might never want it all at once. I was stunned. This was not the conversation I'd expected. What changed your mind? Working, earning, realizing that money I didn't earn feels empty. The money I save from my paychecks? That money means something because I sacrificed for it. The money from the trust? It's just numbers in an account. It doesn't mean anything. Your father wanted you to have security. And I will. But on my terms. As something I build, with the trust as a foundation, not a crutch. Just like he wanted. I agreed to her proposal. We restructured the trust to provide support for education, first home purchase, and true emergencies, but no regular distributions unless she specifically requested them for approved purposes. A year after the Instagram post, Olivia graduated with her bachelor's degree in business. She paid for half with the trust, half with her earnings and scholarships. She moved into a modest apartment, started an entry-level marketing job, lived within her means. She called me on the anniversary of the post. I was looking through old photos and found a screenshot of that Instagram post, the one that started all this. And I'm so glad you cut me off. I was becoming someone Dad would have been ashamed of. Someone I'm ashamed of. That post was the best thing that could have happened to me. Why's that? Because it forced you to act. To do what Dad trusted you to do. Protect me from myself. 2 years after the incident, Olivia had saved enough to make a down payment on a small condo. She requested trust fund support for the remainder. I approved it. At the closing, she turned to me. Thank you. For everything. For managing the trust. For cutting me off when I needed it. For teaching me what Dad would have taught me if he were here. You taught yourself, Olivia. I just stopped enabling you long enough for you to figure it out. She hugged me. Next time we go to brunch, I'm paying. And I promise not to post about your outfit. I appreciate that, though I'm still shopping at Target. Good. Their basics section is actually pretty solid. We both laughed. And I thought about James, who'd worked so hard to give his daughter opportunities. He'd be proud of her now. Not because she had access to money, but because she'd learned not to need it. The trust fund statement still came to my house every quarter. But now when I reviewed it, I saw it differently. Not as money Olivia was owed, but as a safety net she'd learned not to rely on. She called me her poor aunt who shopped at Target. She'd been right about the Target part, but she'd been wrong about everything else. Because true wealth isn't in designer labels or social media posts. It's in financial security, self-sufficiency, and the respect you earn through your choices. And now, finally, Olivia understood that too. Moral of the story *, managing someone's trust fund comes with responsibility to teach, not just distribute. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. And real wealth isn't what you wear. It's what you earn, save, and build through your own effort.